On today's show, Jarrett Allen is back for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they got a dub in Brooklyn. We'll break it all down on a new episode of Locked On Cavs for Wednesday, March 22nd.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
All right, I'm Chris Manning from Fear the Sword, from Diamond UPROXX, Cleveland Magazine, Forbes, a bunch of places. This episode is, as always, produced by the one and only Jake Stevens. Evan is not with us today. He is in Brooklyn. He covered this game. Timing of him getting back from the hotel and things prevents us from having him on the pod. But I'm here. I want to also let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Basketball GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise? Then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimatebasketballgm.com or look it up on the App Store. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDON, in all caps, by the way, in the game. All right, Cavs win, beat Brooklyn 115-109. This game is obviously headlined by the return of Jarrett Allen. Cleveland missed him for a handful of games after he suffered that right eye contusion against the Miami Heat. And Allen looked good. He played 35 minutes, 5 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from the line, 14 boards, did pick up 5 fouls, 2 block shots, 1 turnover, no steals, 12 points. Getting Allen back is a big deal. Getting Allen back gives you a guy who fills in gaps, who gives you backline rim protection, who's going to hustle, who's going to compete. I maintain that I think the Cavs are better equipped than they were a year ago to go through something like him missing time. I think if he had to miss more than this, they would have been better equipped than they were a year ago when it was a real death knell to the season, took a lot of the juice out of the Cavs season. There's no denying the fact that they had this issue last year without one Jarrett Allen. Evan Mobley has ascended in such a way that this is less of an issue now, right? But you get Allen back. He's back with 7 games left. He's back against a team you theoretically could see in the first round. Not likely, but possible. The Cavs get Brooklyn in round 1. And he looked pretty much like Jarrett Allen. He dunked. He tried to block shots. He was aggressive. He moved well. Like there's no real issues to me coming out of this game about Jarrett Allen. You get him back. You get your starting center back. You go back to a Garland, Mitchell, Okoro, Mobley, Allen starting 5. It's kind of more in line with the scheme Cleveland wants to play, everything they want to do. It is those two guys up front kind of dictating the whole defensive scheme, and you get him back. Being healthy is good, IMO. Cavs really benefit from getting Allen back as much as I think they can survive without him. So good to see Jarrett Allen back. Solid enough game from him. Curious to see what he has to say about this postgame. Now, this was overall a win I think Cleveland should feel good about. They did look a little bit uncomfortable early with how Brooklyn was blitzing and with all of the length Brooklyn provides. That's the argument in favor of Brooklyn being a tough playoff matchup, right? Like Brooklyn has a lot of wings. They can throw all these wings. They can throw Cleveland, throw at Mitchell, throw at Garland. And that can make you uncomfortable. You saw the Cavs look uncomfortable, I think, early in this game. They were getting trapped. They were committing turnovers I don't think they normally would commit. That's going to happen. But they did settle in. And I think that's what a good team, what a team that has aspirations does. They get in, they figure it out, they adjust, they get in the flow, they calm down, and they figure out, and everything looked pretty good, offensively. You get into the numbers of this game. Cleveland, was the much better offensive team. A higher offensive rating, 117.1 offensive rating versus 108.9 for Brooklyn. That's a sizable gap, right? Like that is not nothing in terms of how Cleveland handles some of that. Brooklyn has some things that allowed them to stay in this game. They were really competitive. The Cavs kind of took their foot off the gas later in this game in a way that, this wasn't a complete effort. The Cavs lost the fourth quarter 31-21. and like seemed like they were just like, okay, we're going to glide our way to a win, and that's fine. I don't think they're going to be super happy with that aspect of it. But they pushed the lead well into double digits when they were going at their best coming out of the half. The Nets didn't really have an answer for it. The Cavs were absolutely shredding Brooklyn at the point of attack. They got any look they wanted. They got any penetration they wanted with their guards. And that led to just an obscene amount of success for Cleveland in that quarter. In the third quarter, that was one of the better quarters we've seen the Cavs play offensively amid a stretch where they're playing very well offensively to me. Everything about it, everything about the kind of the dictation of it, just in that quarter, you're just going at Brooklyn over and over and over and getting whatever you wanted. And I can understand from like a mental perspective, you do that for an entire quarter and you go off like that, like you're gonna feel like you're pulling away. You're gonna feel like you're just playing better than Brooklyn at that point in time, right? Like you're just feeling like you have this advantage. And it was like a pretty balanced quarter. Mitchell has 9. LeVert has 6. Garland has 9. They're 4-7 from 3. They're 13-24 from the field overall. Their field goal percentage at Payne was actually lower than Brooklyn's in that corner for whatever that is worth. But like they posted like a 125 offensive rating for the quarter, and it had a 92.8 defensive rating. That was just a dominant quarter of basketball. And as much as you would have liked them not to make this tight late, maybe finish up early and you get to pull guys, a win is a win, and that quarter is just like, oh, this team is much, much better than Brooklyn. The last kind of big thing here is that the bench again, I thought looked good. The bench again showed some life. The JB Bickerstaff pulls, I think, the right buttons. Some defensive breakdowns, particularly from Ricky Rubio. In this one, leaving shooters open. But Cedi Osman comes in, gives you 23 minutes. He's 4-4 from 3. Just letting him fly, looking good. LeVert, 18-4 for him. 3-6 from 3, including that buzzer beater. Really good defensive play from LeVert. Had a key steal in the fourth quarter to kind of calm things down a little bit. Rubio did give you 20 minutes. Did move the ball, 8 points and stuff, but like it was the right kind of largely 8-man look from JB Bickerstaff. Lamar Stevens only plays 5 minutes and change in this one. They kind of go away from him after the first half. Don't believe he plays in the entire second half. They go away from him for those minutes because they just needed the shooting. They needed what Cedi and LeVert were providing them, and Bickerstaff makes that adjustment to say, okay, we got our 2 bigs back. We can't really play Lamar in this instance. We're gonna go small. We're gonna just get the shooting on the floor. And Cedi rewarded them for it. This was a good Cedi game where he's making threes. He had 2 blocked shots at the rim at one point in this game, just by virtue of help defense, or at least one in a contest. You feel pretty good about the bench if you're Cleveland. And maybe there is something to the fact that you get past the trade deadline. You give these guys kind of a more settled in reality. LeVert, has had a great March. Came into this game 44% of catch and shoot threes. I think that number goes up after this one. Osman's playing with confidence, looks a little bit more settled. You feel pretty good about the role player and the bench stuff for this one if you're Cleveland, in my mind. Even on a night where you don't get points from Okoro, he still did some stuff that I feel okay about, and the bench production just kind of outweighs, I think, some of the concerns you might have otherwise. And there's other positives of this game. Mobley was very good, I think, offensively. Mitchell, we'll talk about him. But all in all, bench, Allen back, and just kind of some stretches of dominance for Cleveland that came up in a big way. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Basketball General Manager, GM. Look, I'm really excited about our new partner and the sponsor of today's show, the mobile game Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your basketball franchise? Well, then your dream can come true, and this game is definitely for you. You manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and assistants, trading and training players, making draft picks, navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft, and all of the ups and downs of a season. All of this is in a challenging and realistic game where Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is completely free and playable online. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. I know we have a ton of Locked On hosts who love playing it. It seems like a really great time. Some of them have played multiple seasons already. Locked On Cavs listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game, To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the App Store. If you're watching on YouTube, right there, we got a little QR code. It's right there. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, let's give out some game awards here on Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. MVP, Donovan Mitchell. This was one of the better Donovan Mitchell games, I think, in recent memory. He was aggressive. He was just making shots. He hit some deep threes in this game, just pulling up and looking great. Getting his line, 8 free throws for Mitchell. Here's his final stat line: 31, 10 of 22 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 6 of 8 from the line, 5 boards, 3 assists, 3 turnovers. For whatever single game plus minus is worth, plus 20. Mitchell, there's some ish stuff with the finger in this game, obviously. That is going to be an ongoing thing that is bothering him. That is going to be an ongoing thing he is dealing with. But you do see him come back after exiting in the first half to kind of spooking Twitter a little bit. And then he kind of grabs at it later in the game. And he played through it. It seems like he is comfortable enough playing through it. It is definitely bothering him. But he played really well in this game, and the shot looked as good as it has in recent time. He's just a little above 30% since the All-Star break on threes. Very still high for the season, but it's just cooled off a little bit. But this was a reminder that he can have nights and will certainly have nights where he's making pull-up threes and is pretty impossible to guard. So it's Donovan Mitchell for me. There's not really a question about who else the MVP could be. Caris LeVert, I thought, played a great game. There's some good Darius Garland stuff in this one. At a 17-6 night. Evan Mobley offensively, I thought was very good and very aggressive and doing all the right things. You kind of feel good about him in a series against Brooklyn or a team with kind of the wings and just a kind of competent big play or a little above competent big play because Nick Claxton's pretty good. Jetty, again, letting it fly. Great. But this is Mitchell's team. This was a Mitchell night. And when he's making shots the way he made shots, what else is there to say? All right, stat of the night. Let's go to the Cavs offensive rating, 117.1. This is, the league average this year is, I believe, about 114, according to Cleaning the Glass. I'm going to pull this up to be exactly sure to give you exact numbers here. But so offensive rating on the year is 114.9. The best offense on the season is Sacramento at 119.7. Cleveland's offense, based on just this game, would put it at around 6th, 7th in the league. It's a little bit above what their rating is in the year. It's 8th. So the Cavs, on the night, played basically close to their offensive level, played close to their standard offensively. We think of this team, at least I do, as a more of a defensive first team that is dictated by what their offense is, right? Their offense and their defense is certainly better than their offense. Their offense right now, third best defensive rating in the league, 0.3 behind Memphis for the best defensive rating, 0.2 behind Milwaukee. I think there is an argument that this is the best defense in the league. Mobley's playing at an insane level. Allen is so good. You're getting really good defensive seasons out of most everybody. And that kind of, to me, dictates and feeds into the offense. I think this team does define itself, by its offense. But this is, for most of the year, been a top 10-ish offense. Is now up to 8th on the season overall. Over the last couple weeks, it is particularly humming along. It is up to 6th in the league over the last couple weeks. A little bit, 119.4 per 100. That's behind Philly, Toronto, Sacramento, Utah, and Boston over that stretch. And it's about 3 points behind what it is on the season per 100 possessions. This offense is just playing really well. And this is another game where it is producing. It is scoring against a team that has a good defensive personnel, that I think can put pressure points on what the Cavs are and what their strengths are. And they navigated that and just had a really good offensive night. That, to me, is a really good sign. And particularly, again, they shredded Brooklyn at the point of attack. Whatever looks they needed, whatever penetration they needed, they pretty much got it. And that to me would give me some optimism if you were to see Brooklyn, in the playoffs. All right, got a couple of plays of the night. How can I not start with Donovan Mitchell dropping a nuke on Yuta Watanabe's head? This dunk was this is the second time Yuta has been posterized in his NBA career, pretty famously. There was the Anthony Edwards one during the COVID year, after the first season after the bubble. This is the second time he's just absolutely gone up for a block and got trashed on his head. And Mitchell just absolutely uncorked one on him. He loads up. He could have dumped it off, done something else, but he absolutely just crushed one on his head. The replay does it all the justice. The replay is just sensational to watch over and over again. Every angle gives you something different. And Mitchell is just this crazy explosive athlete in his frame. What an athlete. What a dunk. Poor Yuta Watanabe. Just getting absolutely crushed again in this kind of situation. Two others. Evan Mobley, third quarter. He had two nets collapse on him at the rim. He feels it coming and he immediately rotates back, feeds Karis LeVert in the corner, whips it to him the other way. LeVert sticks the corner three. Really good just reading and reacting for Mobley as a passer in that situation. That is the kind of stuff you want to see from him in terms of passing and making an impact and moving the ball. At times you're going to see him go up and try to dunk in those spots, but for him to feel the double, two bigs in front of him, have the awareness that a shooter's open in the other corner. You love that from Mobley. And lastly, also in the third quarter, Isaac Okoro had maybe the best pass he's made of his NBA career in this game. He drives, and then he, with his offhand, squeezed in a pass to Jarrett Allen and in between defenders into a really tight window. And I didn't know he could do that. Allen gets either fouled or gets a bucket out of it. I just did not know Isaac Okoro could make that pass. Sometimes when he drives, when he goes to make the pass, that's when he gets almost over eager. That's when the mistakes happen. That is when he looks a little bit out of control. And when he makes this pass, it's just I didn't know he could do that. I didn't believe that I saw it for a second. It's obviously not even the most sensational thing that we've seen him do. I think the dunk on Jokic is the highlight of his career from last season. But it's he even on a night where he misses his threes and he doesn't score, I think this is stuff that makes you feel okay about what he's going to provide you out of the corner. We'll see what the playoffs look like. That's the ultimate test, but little stuff like this would give me some optimism. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. In NBA bets right now, I love the parlay builder they have. You can go through the stars of the night, pick a bunch of guys you think are going to score 20 or more, and really just find a bunch of different things you like in that space. Pick the right matchups, all of that stuff. And there's exclusive bets like the 2x3, which is 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes of certain games. And they have a ton of tournament bets, women's and men's. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That is FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, last segment here on Locked On Cavs. Couple just miscellaneous things from this game, and then I have a little Donovan Mitchell, not rant, but statement I want to make. I think where the Cavs are at these last stretch of the season is a really interesting place for them to be. They are pretty much, I think, going to be the 4 seed. I think that they 3.5 back of the Celtics right now, or the 76ers right now. 4 games back of the Boston Celtics, who are struggling a bit, 5-5 of their last 10. I don't know if there's just enough time to really catch Boston. I think Cleveland is going to be the 4 seed. The Knicks, are kind of locked in at the 5. And these two teams do play again. But I think the rest of the season, with Allen healthy, with Mitchell playing like this, and you would hope that the finger's getting a little bit better, with just everything building in a positive direction right now, with LeVert playing well, and they're 7-3 in their last 10, which is the same record as Milwaukee over that stretch. I think if you're Cleveland, you should feel pretty good about yourself going into the playoffs and getting a chance to build some real momentum as we go here, right? You're in this position where you have a chance to get into the playoffs, to make the first non-LeBron playoff season since like before many of us were born. And like make this season mean something. I don't think this team is a title contender. I don't think they're in that exact upper inner circle right now. The numbers, which I guess they are, and maybe they make a conference finals or something like that. That could be very, very cool. I think this season is going to be memorable in the sense that this group is accomplishing something and taking a step forward from last year. And is just this is a really good team. This is a team that is improving. This is a team that is growing up. Their road record's getting better of late. They're kind of surviving some things that I think would have cost them earlier in the year. I think the rotation is really kind of settled into a nice place with, the two wings plus Rubio and Lamar coming off the bench right now. We'll see if Dean Wade gets another chance. We'll see if, Danny Green does get a chance to play. I don't know if he will. It seems, I know JB said he did, but we'll see if that kind of works itself out. But this team has a chance to build momentum with a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. These last handful of games, going to the playoffs against a team that I think they match up well against, have home court advantage, and then we see where it goes. They will probably get Milwaukee in round 2. That's brutal. You get Giannis, who might win MVP. I think it's the best player alive, probably. That's going to be hard. That's going to teach you something, though. That is going to teach you something where you're going to go through that against a team that has won a title, against a team that knows how to win, against a team that not just has Giannis, but Middleton and Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez and all these guys. And if they've been there, done that, you're going to get to go against that. And Mitchell is going to go through it for the first time with this team. And Garland's here going through this for the first time. And Mobley's going through it for the first time. And that's going to mean something to them. It's going to mean something for JB Bickerstaff. Obviously you want to see what they can accomplish. You want to see how far they can go if you're a fan. But they're in a really, really good spot. And we'll talk more about this in some of the discourse, let's say, with Jordan Zerm on the Thursday show. He's going to be here with me talking about that because Evan's still going to be out. But I think this team is just in a really good place. I think this team is in a good spot. This team is going to get 50 plus wins. They're going to, I think, be favored and have home court advantage in a first round series. That's really cool. That's really awesome. This is a really good basketball team. I think don't lose sight of that would be my advice. Speaking of losing sight of the bigger picture, so people seem to be really mad, at least Browns fans seem to be very mad about Donovan Mitchell wearing a Lamar Jackson jersey. Okay? So the Cavs post this photo. As they do, they have a sponsorship with a company that didn't get invested in that does fit photos when the team gets on the plane and comes in the arena. So the other day, they posted a photo of Donovan Mitchell getting on the plane in a purple coat and a purple Lamar Jackson jersey. Then he, shared to his Instagram story, says, "Pay that man," tags Lamar on Instagram. This seemed to bother people, and I understand reflexively, it's there's obviously this, the Browns moved and became the Ravens, and Art Modell did that, and that's a forever villain Cleveland team. I get that on an emotional reactionary level, but use your brain for 5 seconds and think about it. For one, Donovan Mitchell is clearly, this is a moment where Lamar Jackson is going through a contract negotiation, and there's, I think, some optical, questions about how he's being treated by the NFL, and he's not getting what he wants. He's not getting guaranteed money, and this is a former MVP, and I think rightfully a lot of people feel a certain way about that, especially considering he's a black quarterback. Donovan Mitchell is showing support to that. He is allying himself and saying, I'm showing solidarity with Lamar Jackson. That is what that is. Secondly, these guys overlapped at Louisville. They were there at the same time. I don't know if they knew each other or friends or whatever, But these are guys that were in the same athletic program. At the very least, I'm sure they're aware of each other and have met and have some respect. And like maybe we're in the same training facility. But like there's like a kinship from the fact that they both went to Louisville. And he's supporting his guy. He made that very clear in the post. This is not like he's a Ravens fan thing. I don't know what NFL team Donovan Mitchell likes. I don't really care. He's an adult. He can root for whoever he wants. He's a Mets fan. Were people mad that he was like went to like a Mets playoff game too? Like, or is this just Browns fans being weird? Is this just weirdo Browns fan energy? You should keep that if that's the case, because it's stupid. Like Mitchell has come to Cleveland, talked about being a fan of the Cavs growing up because he was a LeBron fan. Went to a Browns game, like wore a Browns hat when he arrived, just elite pandering stuff from day one. Went to a Browns game, smashed a guitar, has gone to Guardians games and supported them and been pretty like into that as much as he's like a Mets fan first. But he's like embraced being here. He's embraced being in Cleveland. And like regardless if you're a fan or me like covering the team, that's like very admirable. Not every guy does that. There are guys who are drafted here who don't embrace the city in that way and kind of embrace the iconography and embrace the teams. So just like get outside of your little bubble if you're mad about this Donovan Mitchell Lamar thing. You have like a guy that is representing the Cavs as a franchise himself, like the city, like in a very eloquent way, I think, at all times. And I think just him like wearing a Lamar Jackson jersey in solidarity of someone because he wants that guy to get paid is like that's awesome. He should do that 10 times out of 10. If you're mad about that, I think you're wrong, ultimately. All right, Cavs beat the Nets. They get Brooklyn again on Thursday. Completed another 2 games in 3 days road swing. And with that one, they'll wrap up the season series there. Again, Jarrett Allen back. They get a win. They pretty much feel locked into 4, as we've been saying here on Locked On Cavs. Thanks again to Jake Stevens for producing. Thanks again to Astro Radio for the music. Thanks again to Fantasy Basketball GM and FanDuel for the sponsorship. Back again on Thursday with Jordan Zerm coming through. We are going to touch on some Cavs Discourse stuff, playoff opponents, all kinds of fun Cavs things. And by the way, Friday, Spencer German's going to fill in for Evan. He's going to help me recap Cavs Nets round 2. Until then, I'm Chris. Thanks again to Jake. Be well.